that these responders faced.
The crew from Engine 26 had been the first in at this house fire in the Diamond Heights district of San Francisco. They had made their way inside to find the seat of the fire, but in the heavy rains and gusting winds, they had no way of knowing that the blaze had already taken hold of the building. 75 Everson Street has been leveled since this incident, but if you can imagine, the home was built much like these buildings behind me, on steep terrain with several levels of terracing and fire coming from below.
The structure itself created a situation which is somewhat unusual for us. Firefighters are going in with the thought of attacking the fire, which is typical of what we do. They weren't aware, I don't believe, that the fire was underneath them when they entered the building. The structure being built the way it was with a southerly exposure and the wind being blown from the south that night, when those windows down below entry level, the floor below entry level, broke out from the heat and wind, it created a tunnel effect in that building. It was blowing right up through the building and right through the garage to the exterior of the building. So being aware of the type of fire you're getting into, the structure itself, is critical.
The wind gusted up to 70 miles per hour that night, pushing the fire toward the crew. Unknown to them at the time, the wind was acting like a bellow, giving the fire a huge head start on the firefighters.
When we arrived at the fire building, my company officer and myself, we went down to the left building. We had a nozzle with a straight stream on it, and we were within maybe 5 feet of the building trying to get water into the fire building, and the water that was coming out of the hose was, I couldn't hit the building from 5 feet. That's how hard the wind was coming up between the two buildings, and we fought that for hours, just trying to make penetration with the water. We couldn't make any headway because of the wind.
To understand the fire spread, you need to first understand the layout of the building.
This is a diagram of the fire building from a westerly view. This was the point of entry of the first engine company into the garage area. Initial ignition took place at this level, below entry level, in a bedroom area. Extended up from the bedroom area, up a level of stairs, through the living room area, kitchen area, and start blowing out toward the garage area. The fire also, at the same time, was taking hold of that whole second floor area and starting to burn down into this storage area, the third level down.
So those guys come in from here, the fire has started here, and they aren't even certain that it's underneath them.
Correct. They're at this door with the ready line in operation, trying to hit the fire they see in this dressing room, this living room area here. I don't think they realized that that fire was coming up a level of stairs toward them. They could not hit the seat of the fire from where they were located.
Lieutenant Louis Mambretti on Engine 26 saw conditions worsening inside and decided to redirect the fire attack from the exterior. He and his crew began to back out of the garage. What the crew of Engine 26 didn't know was that the automatic garage door had somehow closed on them, making their exit impossible.
I could hear some banging on the garage door, and I thought it was another fireman trying to get inside the garage because it was shut like when I got there. And I saw him out of the corner of my eye leave the front of the garage, and the banging continued on. So I realized, hey, that's not this guy. Somebody's inside because nobody else was around. So I told my boss, I said, hey, somebody's in there. I might have even told the chief, and they said, are you sure? Yeah. So as soon as I yelled somebody was in there, the guy that just left the door, he went back and tried to open the door. But there was so much hot smoke, it was so hot in the smoke and everything, he pulled up a little bit in the crack and he got a blast of heat in his face and he backed off. For some reason, I thought I could do the same thing. It was just like, I was just like a robot or something. Just followed, did the same thing he did, same thing happened to me. And so we got more people, 3 of us got on the door, and we tried to lift it up. We couldn't lift it up, and that's what I found was really frustrating because you knew somebody was in there, couldn't get him out, and everything just started to escalate. It got windier, got hotter, more smokier, everything like that. So I went and got an axe. My boss got an axe. We tried to chop a hole, but we just couldn't stay on the wall, too. It was hot. Our axes were going through the plywood and sticking. We were getting it out, and it was just constant fighting. And then I went and got a chainsaw after that. In the meantime, I guess my boss had chopped down low on the vent, ended up getting one of the guys out, and that's when we found out there was 2 more people in there. So everyone was in a big panic at that particular time. So in the meantime, I was getting a chainsaw. I fired it up. I'd given it to him, and then I went back to where the hole was, and I saw a Scott bottle laying there. I thought somebody else was there. I went down and grabbed it. It was just a bottle. So I said, oh, I took another break, came back in, and then like 5 or 6 of us got on the door, and then it just popped right open, and the 2 bodies were laying right in front of me. And for a split second, I thought, they had their faces down. I thought they were still alive. So I kind of waited, and I hit them like, come on, let's go. And they didn't react. It seemed like the whole world just stood still for probably like a half a second, and then I realized, hey, something's really wrong. So I grabbed both of them, started backpedaling. I got a bunch of help, and I just helped with this firefighter. And then we had massive amounts of people coming. So by that time, everyone came and got her, and that was it. They took them off.
Lieutenant Mambretti was killed in the fire. Firefighter Melanie Stapper suffered lung damage and burns, and she is currently legally blind. Firefighter Keith Onishi suffered serious burns to his ears, neck, and hands.
The fire has left a lot of scars, both physically and emotionally. We had 1 firefighter killed, 2 still off work, 1 relatively serious still serious at this point. A family lost a husband, a father, a nephew. When it hits that close to home, it becomes a little more emotional for everybody involved in the situation. The firefighter that died was a close friend to a lot of people. And when that happens, I think it affects your own approach toward dealing with fires and being a little more cautious and thinking about the various possibilities that are there in that building. It tends to focus you a little more.
While their colleagues continued to battle this blaze, Battalion Chief Scott Peoples was called to the scene to begin the investigation. San Francisco's findings have now been released.
The investigative team discovered that the contributing factors which resulted in the negative results of this fire were essentially the origin of fire in itself, beginning at the rear of the building, where there were reported 50 to 60 mile an hour winds directly funneled into the rear of that building, and the fact that the place of origin, an electrical outlet, had basically arced due to the wind and rain conditions, and the winds had driven it into the concealed stud channels and frameworks and ducting area of the building, adding to its quick spread. Following that, another series of events occurred, along with the fact that the building's location had a very significant play in this role. It's located at the top of Glen Park Canyon, perched on a hillside where heavy winds are frequently experienced. The rear of the building, typical of an Eichler type of home, where constructed approximately in the mid to late 70s, was primarily structured in extensive glass use, sliding glass doors, windows, things of that sort, to take advantage of the panoramic type of view. Those 2 items significantly impacted the fire. Additionally, the fire's origin 1 story below the entry level, and the fact that the garage door closed on Engine 26 and Lieutenant Mambretti and his crew at some point in time, all combined for the tragic results of 75 Everson.
The automatic garage door that closed on the crew has been at the center of this investigation. Its construction alone hampered the rescue effort.
The garage door was constructed of 2x4 and 2x2 material, sheathed in plywood, with an automatic garage door opener installed worm drive mechanism. As the firefighters were on the front of the door with power equipment, power saws, as well as axes, in an attempt to breach the door, and shoulder to shoulder practically in trying to physically force the door, the fire was being driven towards them as well as the crew trapped inside, where the door had closed and significantly limited the ventilation process that had already been established early on in the fire.
San Francisco has developed a specialized tool to secure the garage door at future fires. And they say while it may be unrealistic to secure the door immediately upon arrival, they know now that it's an important element in any fire attack. They have also changed their dispatching procedures.
Pre-alert information from the San Francisco Fire Department Communications Center, in our case, and in other departments, I would suggest that they, as a point of awareness for company officers, that they disseminate information regarding unusual weather patterns such as wind advisories that clearly exacerbate fire situations and had a major effect in this fire at 75 Everson.
By all accounts, Engine Company 26 was doing what any first-in engine company would have done. In retrospect, it serves as a reminder that you can never have too much information going into a fire attack.
People have to think ahead about being aware when they're walking in and not just following their officer. It takes a lot of pair of eyes to watch what's happening and just not get in the routine of following someone else. You know, we get lulled, like I said, in routine things, and then we run into unusual situations. And this type of job, you haven't got time to sit back and rationalize about a lot of things. It's more of a reactionary type of situation. And if you've been thinking about the variables ahead of time, the chances are better you're going to react in the right way. And that's not just the crew that entered that garage. That applies to everybody who was at any fire, including myself.
The San Francisco Fire Department has taken the problems they faced at 75 Everson Street and has made recommendations as a result. They include and reiterate the importance of the following: a training bulletin addressing automatic garage doors, pre-alert information, the ongoing use of the buddy system, securing an alternate means of egress where possible, alternative items to use in the absence of hose and ladder straps, firefighting procedures during high wind conditions, power saws and other gas operating tools and how they operate in heavy smoke conditions, continuing regular use of safety officers. The San Francisco Fire Department has shared its incident analysis and investigation findings into the Everson Street fire in the hopes that you'll pull valuable training from their experience. Anytime a firefighter is lost or injured in the line of duty, it calls upon us to evaluate what happened so we can prevent it from happening again.
Extreme winds were the catalyst for this tragedy. Firefighters should